This is Zami Eccles-Irwin from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the Assistant Director of the Oregon Documentary Film Festival. Right now, we're gearing up for our Fall 2023 screening, which is going to take place on October 7th at the Sunshine Mill Winery and Drive-In Theaters in the Dalles, Oregon. And today, we're talking with one of our participating filmmakers. Vicki Topaz is the director of By My Side. Vicki, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate it. It's great to be with
So
you.
By My Side has been making a splash in the film festival circuit. You've screened twice. We have another screening coming up, and it really is a remarkable, incredible film.
Thank you.
I just want to know what inspired you to make this movie?
I'm a photographer who became a filmmaker, and years ago, probably around, I don't know, 2010 or so, I learned about an organization called Puppies Behind Bars. And I was just coming off of another project, and I was curious about what that meant, only to find out that the puppies behind bars were being trained by inmates to become service dogs for veterans that had PTSD. Now, I didn't know about PTSD and I didn't know about service dogs, but I also realized that I didn't know any veterans from current wars, from either Iraq or Afghanistan, etc. Only my Vietnam War friends from way back. So one thing led to another, and I was introduced to Operation Freedom Pause, which is an organization that partners veterans with post-traumatic stress and mostly with other disabilities as well, with service dogs. So for years, I was interviewing and photographing and a little bit of video these men and women. And that was a project called Heal. And as the years went by, I began meeting the families. They started bringing their families in, and I began photographing the families. And I realized that we don't know anything about the families. You just don't hear their stories. And the more I thought about it, I thought it needed to be a film. And so, I was very fortunate to get connected with a wonderful filmmaker and a great crew. And it was about 5 years in the making, but we collaborated really well and had 3 veteran families that were courageous enough to come let us into their homes, talk in front of the camera, including the children. And that was so inspiring for me to be able to tell their stories. And it's when I also realized it helped me understand a puzzle to my own story, because my father was a World War II veteran who flew missions in Europe during the war. And there was always a mystery for me about why he drank so much, why he was so angry. And certain things in our family just didn't seem right. And it's really when I met these kids, and began filming them, that I began to understand what had really happened in my own family. So very personal for me on both sides of it, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
You're able to piece together a little question of your own experience while documenting these others. That's great. I mean, it's incredible. And so it started out, as you said, maybe a year or so photographically documenting the Freedom Pause project.
Well, actually, I was documenting them for about 10 years.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I was going there every week. There are probably about 40 or 50 veterans and their dogs that I photographed. And in the project itself on the website, you see about 40 of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was
you were really familiar. Okay, you were familiar with
well.
Yeah, and you're in the inner ring.
Yeah.
I'm curious though, what was it like to then get to know the family members and kind of earn their trust enough for them to really open up like they did?
Yeah, first of all, the veteran, the 3 veterans in the film I know well, and I had photographed and interviewed them. And they had some of the kids that I began to meet while we were photographing. So the kids got to know me, and each family was really open about letting their children talk. It's interesting because they didn't want to hear what the children had to say. They just let them go, And I think because they had trust in me and they had trusted Mary Cortani, who is the founder of
Mm,
Operation Freedom Paws. Those two things really made the kids, I think helped the kids and the veterans be comfortable with me. And I brought such a wonderful film crew, you know, to this project, and they were just, you could just feel how heartfelt it was for them. They were full of passion, and these families could see it, and that helped, really helped a lot.
that's beautiful. I mean, it really takes
Yeah,
that dedicated, passionate crew to make people feel
yeah,
comfortable and to
they
open
were
up.
amazing. Yeah.
I'm interested in what you were saying about choosing for the film to document the familial side as well, and opening up the dialogue to hear their stories. Um, and I feel like you have a really good balance in the film of talking to the veterans, talking to the family members. But I'm wondering, was there any difficulties in the editing room trying to get that balance right?
Well, not really. I mean, first of all, over the 5 years, we had a lot of footage, and we, when we were filming, everyone had an equal part. I had interviews ready for all of them, the spouses, the kids. And there were parts that I chose not to include that they were just too much, and it wasn't necessary,
Hmm.
because through what the kids were telling people in what they were saying about their lives, you could pretty much get a good impression that life was not easy living with post-traumatic stress
Right.
and having secondary trauma themselves. So so in terms of a balance, perhaps there could have been more of the children there to balance that out a little bit,
Hmm.
but it just wasn't necessary to go there. And same with some of the interviews with the vets themselves. Just details that are too hard, and I
Totally.
just felt like the message was coming across without having to include a lot of that. If that
Right.
makes sense, yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, it feels really focused, and it feels ultimately uplifting and positive. I feel like that's the
Good.
through line, and that's nice. Um, and so I'm curious, you've been a photographer for a long time. Is this your first film project, or have you done film projects before?
Well, during the course of doing the photographic project, I videoed each of the interviews as well as just had an audio interview with
Okay.
them. So I had little clips that I put onto, 2-minute clips that were powerful. I put those onto the HEAL website. And then I also created a 5-minute film. It was called Veterans Speak About PTSD. And I sent it to the GI Film Festival when they were back in DC, and they took it, they screened it, and then I continued to submit it to other festivals, and there were probably about, I don't know, 18 or 19 festivals that took it. So I found that to be really interesting, and it really helped me understand the power of a film festival. It's like the reach, getting the message out in another way.
Totally.
So that was a big, great experience for me, and that all translated to a few years later when I began this film. So yeah. Mhm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great insight into how that thought process works, and how some film festivals can really boost you in
Mhm.
continuing. I want to know though, what did you learn from this process, making By My Side? Did you take any new insights into making documentaries?
Well, first of all, nothing that I've done has been at this level. So I'm on a learning curve for 5 years. I'm on a learning curve, really seriously. But I was very close with the editor. I worked very close with the editor, and I worked very close with my filmmaker partner, Wynn, who's the main cinematographer on the project, in terms of how I was there for each shoot, kind of directing how I saw those going and then doing the interviews. So I was learning as I went, really. It Everything about it was, I mean, and then once the film was finished, it's like then you go through color production, and then you go through the music, and the music was amazing, and I hadn't really taken into consideration that I should be thinking about what the music should be.
Right.
So I was so fortunate to be introduced to Andrew Dost, who champion musician and has written several scores, and we just had a great time together. His music is so sensitive to what's happening in the film. It was just, yeah, it was really great. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic score. It's something that I remember, particularly from watching it.
Yeah,
Um, well, that's cool. It's nice that you were able to kind of see every step of the process and familiarize yourself with, the sum total of what a film production
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Um, well, Vicky, are you working on any new projects right now?
No, no, I'm not actually, because we are now moving. We've now moved into the next stage of what to do with this film, because I kind of think of it now. We want the film to do its work, and its work is to get in front of as many veterans
Mm,
and military personnel that might not see it otherwise. And we're doing that through an impact campaign, and we're reaching companies that or organizations or foundations that will want to show this film to different locations across the country. We have just started a little program called Host a Screening, which has really caught on. For example, there's a woman veteran in Wisconsin who wanted several of her veteran friends to see it. They had a party at a farmhouse. They screened the film. They loved it. They would never have seen the film if it hadn't been for her
wow.
picking up on it through social media.
Well, that's
So,
great.
yeah. Mhm.
So now the goal is to get as many veterans to see it so they can particularly or potentially make use of those services and
Well, yeah,
understand.
understand that there's hope. Understand the power of a service dog, which we haven't really talked about, because I think the film really translates what that dog can bring to a
Right.
family with post-traumatic stress. And some vets still don't know about service animals. They just
Right.
don't, because each VA, each vet, they're across the country and each of them are a little different. Some may have, a therapist who says, gee, do you know about service dogs? I can direct you here. And that's how some of them find them. Some of them find out about the dogs online, and some vets just don't even know about canine therapy.
Totally.
So we and the other thing that I think that the film shows that there is hope, because the suicide rate really hasn't changed
Mm,
since I started this years ago. No matter what they say, the suicide rate it's a crisis right now. And if the VA was doing a little bit more to support service animals, there would be more veterans who would know them about service animals right away. But so yeah, it's kind of an educational thing, as well as showing that there is hope. If they're ready to take the next step, we want them to
totally.
know that there's hope and how that can happen. Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to screen this at another festival and get more eyes on
Mhm.
it, and I think it's a great project to try and get this in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Well, yeah, thank you, Vicky, so much for talking with me, and we will be screening this Oregon Documentary Film Festival, October 7th. Big drive-in
Great.
movie theater screen.
Sounds so cool. Yeah. And I love all that you guys are doing to promote films. It's really, thank you. It's just wonderful, your programs.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Well,
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure to screen incredible work like by my side,
Oh,
and
thank you.
I've seen it in the theater. I've seen it at home. It never fails to make an emotional impact on me, and
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you so much, Vicky, and take care. Looking forward to see you at
Good.
another festival.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.